This is a demonstration on how to use the soil classification module in stability.com.au. The first thing I'll see is a disclaimer, essentially stating that you must be a suitably qualified person to fill out this form. I'll accept the disclaimer. I can then add a allowable bearing capacity calculation from a DCP test. I can remove it if I want to, but for the purposes of this example, we'll leave it in. Select your soil type, number of tests, maximum depth. For the sake of time, I'll just say 300, but you'd usually go a lot lower than that. The depth of the water table, I'll set to 1 meter, which essentially means that there is no water table because it's below the maximum depth of the testing. I'll enter in my blows for each test and each depth. I'll then press calculate bearing capacity. And you'll notice that I have some results here, but I can't see them because I've not yet paid the fee. I can then move on to calculating the soil classification from the shrink swell testing. I'll enter a soil type. Will the footing site on a cut or fill surface? Let's say yes, and maybe the maximum cut is 0.4 meters and the maximum fill is 0.2. Are there any of the following Class P hazards at this site? Go through the list and make sure none of these are true for the site. If one of them is true, select the hazard that applies to you. Otherwise, select no, none of the above hazards at this site. You can use a custom soil layer profile if you wish by clicking this checkbox. What this does is it gives you the ability to add multiple soil layers. So if you had, say, a clay and then a sand and then a rock layer, you could add it in that way. But usually if you only have one soil profile layer, so for example just one natural clay, you can just leave this unchecked and the program will calculate the layers for you. We can then choose the project location for the soil parameters. If you don't see your location in these options, you can choose other. And then you have the ability to either choose a climatic zone, a Thorn's Weight moisture index, or manually enter in the HS and delta U for your site. The easiest one's probably the climatic zone, so I'll choose that. I'll go to the state of New South Wales. I'm in Coffs Harbour, so my climatic zone is climate zone 1. You can see here's the zone numbers, and these lines here are the boundaries. So I'll click climatic zone 1. That's calculated my HS and my delta U and my crack depth. I can then enter in whether there's trees. I'll say there's one tree nearby. It's 6 meters to the tree and the tree is 10 meters high. I can then enter in my shrink swell indexes from the report here. And you'll notice that the program's broken it into 2 layers, the top layer being the cracked portion of the soil and the bottom layer being the uncracked portion. If you have only one soil type or one soil test, you can just enter in the same value for both layers. So I'll say for both layers it's 2. And now I can calculate my soil classification. The program's now calculated the characteristic movement and the soil classification. However, I don't have the results yet because I haven't paid the fee. If I only want the results, I can pay the fee here. However, if I want the full report from Nambucca Engineering, as shown below, I'll have to fill in the report inputs. I'll say that the date of the site investigation was yesterday. I'll enter a basic site description. I'll say it's a vacant block with grass and 1 tree. And I'll enter a soil summary. Topsoil to 200 millimeters, natural clay below. It's not necessary to include the topsoil in the soil layers as the topsoil will be removed before building commences. Is there a water table? Let's say no for this one. And then you'll upload a site photo. The site photo should be a photo that shows exactly where the house is going to go, but since I don't have a photo for this project, as it's just an example, I'll just choose any photo from my hard drive. I can then click on draw borehole locations. You'll notice on the left hand side here we have a toolbar that will help me draw. up here we have a hints bar, which will tell me what each tool does. If I hover on this tool, it says it's the Create Polyline tool. I can either draw my boreholes with polylines or with the freehand sketch. I'll start off with the freehand sketch, and I just click and drag. There's one borehole. I'll click tick to say I'm finished. Or I could draw it with the polyline tool. I'll draw a line here, click to add vertices, and then I press OK, and then I'll need another one for the horizontal bar of the cross. I'll click OK, and then I'll add a text to label each borehole. So let's go borehole 1. I'll drag that up here, and I'll press the copy button. I can drag that over here and go borehole 2. And now I'm done. So you should go through the report and read it thoroughly and make sure there's no errors in the data. You'll notice that there's a disclaimer here that says we don't take responsibility for any incorrect data that you've that you've entered. So the report will have all your project details, such as the address entered into it. It'll also have the entries from the report inputs. You can see it says vacant block with grass and 1 tree. Here's your borehole locations that you just entered on the map. That's your site photo. Here are your soil parameters. You can see here's all the calculations that the program has done to calculate your characteristic surface movement and the soil classification for the site, which in this instance is H1. Here's your allowable bearing capacity calculations from the DCP test. You may notice that through this report some data is missing until you pay the fee. So I'll press save and mark as complete, which is very important because that is what will save it to the database. And I get a little notification saying it's been saved. And now I can safely go and pay the fee. It'll take me to a Stripe page where I can enter in my credit card information. And then press pay. I'm now taken back to the page. I'll accept the disclaimer again, and you can see all my results have populated here. And here's my full report with all results populated, and I now have a print PDF button that I can press to print the report, and it'll send it to my downloads. So once that's downloaded, I can open it, and here's my soil report ready to go. And that's how you use soil classification in stability.com.au.